Welcome to the Under the Hat podcast,
the show where we talk about everything and anything that is top of mind in education.
The goal is to provide meaningful conversations to what is currently happening in our classrooms.
Stories, pains,
moments of success.
We want to hear it all.
Hey friends, welcome to another episode of Under the Hat. Wait, Sophie, do we still both work here? I feel like it's been a minute since we both have been in the virtual office here.
Together at the same time.
Yeah.
I missed you, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. I even in our other job, I feel like we haven't really run into each other a whole lot, like in the virtual office. So this
We have not.
Yeah, this is gonna be fun. I think it'll fill my bucket, I think, is
Well
what I think is
overdue.
gonna happen today.
You needed some Sophie
Yes.
Sparkle in your life.
Yeah.
Don't we all?
Yes. Yes, we all. Today on the
Yeah.
podcast, we have Heather Brown. She's an educator who's passionate about bringing innovation and excitement to the classroom. She works with teacher goals, doing the interior design of a book, which I think is absolutely fascinating, wonderful. And she is a frequent presenter at education conferences, and I think you're part of a keynote, the end keynote at McCall this year, right?
Yes, we are.
Yeah. Where you share your expertise on using technology to engage students. You can find Heather on the socials. She's got it in her handle thing, but it's at Brownies Ed Bites. So if you want to go check out the wonderful ideas that she has going on there, you could find her at that on all, pretty much. That's your same one on all the socials, right, Heather?
Yes, I kept it the same because there's too many Heather Browns in the world.
Yeah.
I can relate.
Yeah, see?
Steve Martinez. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, Jim and I was like, which one?
See?
I was like, is it the artist? Is it the educator? Is it someone else? And I'm like, dude.
Well, actually, my
All the
son
above,
has
because you do all of those.
a board book from when he was smaller. That's one of those Who Stole the Cookie from the Cookie Jar books. The illustrator is Heather Brown.
Oh.
What are the chances?
Fabulous.
Yeah.
That's fabulous. Alrighty, so Heather, why don't you tell us a little about your education journey?
Okay. So a little background knowledge about me. I am from very rural Illinois. The town that I grew up in had 1,000 people in it. In the entire county, there was one stoplight, and that's the entire county, not like the city, the county. And then I went to Monmouth College in another rural area of Illinois, and I got a degree in elementary education and music. No interest in teaching music, none. Because to me, music should be fun, and I didn't want it part of my job, but I was getting a lot of scholarships for music, so I'm like, I better, do something with it. So I did. After that, I subbed for a few years, and then I got a teaching job where I am now at East Coloma in Rock Falls, Illinois. I taught third grade for a couple of years. I went down to first grade, back up to third grade, and I said, okay, I'm bored. I can't keep doing the same thing. I'm going crazy. So I decided to get my master's degree in instructional design and technology. I decided to do this in, I think it was August of 2019. And then the pandemic hit during my master's degree program of instructional design and technology. That was great. Perfect timing there. Pandemic hit, here I am learning about technology.
Crazy. That's exactly the same degree I was getting at that exact same time.
That's
Wait,
weird.
Not to make this even more weird, but I was also getting my master's during that time. Like, I'm just saying, that's kind of weird.
Wild.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Please, Heather,
It was
continue.
a wild
Sorry.
time. A wild time to be getting that.
Yeah.
And so I got that, and COVID threw me for a loop. I honestly thought you know what, this is not for me anymore. I can't keep doing this. I didn't feel like I was helping the kids enough, but at the same time, I was pushing myself so hard. There was just no balance. And I said, enough is enough. I decided I needed to change. And my superintendent is very, very supportive. I cannot say enough good things about Dr. Chris Lensing, my superintendent, because he was very supportive in this. And yes, I say superintendent talking to me because my school district has 210 kids in it. That's my entire district. So I literally see my superintendent every day, which is another thing that people find weird. So I told him what was going on. And he was like, you know, you're a great teacher. You're doing everything you can, 100% supporting me. Well, then they decided to open up a math interventionist position. And since this was a brand new thing, like there was no curriculum, there's no guidelines. It was basically, how are you going to help the kids? Do what you can, fail if you want, doesn't matter, just try. So that's what I did. And then I'm like, you know, on Fridays, all I do is test kids, and that's kind of boring. So why not push myself a little bit farther? And so I started doing STEAM on Fridays for kindergarten through 5th grade, which means on Fridays, I'm literally running around between testing and STEAM. It's great fun, kindergarten through 5th grade. And then I started doing a middle school STEAM program after school, and I just started doing an elementary technology class after school. And a few years ago, Amanda Fox had been writing her Canva classroom book. And she was looking for like different templates that might work for that. And I had a math one for her. And she sent me back the page that she had written with it. And I said, it's great, but there are these little errors in it. And she's like, oh my God, thank you. And I said, do you want me to look at a few more pages? Because it was like little things like grammar, like forgetting S's at the end of verbs, just little things, you know. And even though I'm a math teacher, I'm very good with grammar. So she had me copy edit her whole book. It was wild. And the next thing you know, she asked me to be her podcast co-host. And then I started doing copy editing for teacher goals. And then I started presenting. And all of a sudden, this year, I had 11 different things I did at FETC. It was crazy.
Wow.
But yeah, that's kind of a brief overview of my journey. There's a lot going on.
I just appreciate how you flex very differently, right? Like being a math teacher, but also doing the work of, you know, on the author's side of things and how you're supporting them, and obviously with the work that you're doing with teacher goals. Tell us a little bit more about that, like in terms of like what you, because Sophie mentioned like interior design
Yes.
for teacher goals. Maybe elaborate a little bit about that experience and kind of the work you're doing there.
Okay. So since April of 2022, I have either contributed to, did the interior design, or copy edited 11 books. And this is why my own book has not been written, because I've been a little but when I get I essentially get a Word doc or a Google Doc, something like that from the author. And then from there, I use Adobe InDesign to lay out what it should look like. So sometimes I'll have to add graphics. Sometimes I will have to go through and decide, okay, are all these supposed to be headings, or some headings, some subheadings? And I'm probably an odd copy editor to have, and same with a layout designer, because as I'm reading through it, I'm also reading through it as a teacher. I'm not just looking and placing from here to here and finding mistakes. Like, I am digesting the book as an educator too. So as I'm going through it, I'm leaving comments for the authors about how amazing something is, or how, oh my gosh, I need to talk to you more about this when the book is over, or I hope you really come back to this later. Different things like that. And it's really fun to see and work with these authors because there's so many diverse ideas. And like for me, I live in a really rural area. There's no one who does what I do. And so to have these different educators that you can bounce ideas off of is just absolutely amazing. And honestly, to me, the interior design of a book is almost like a puzzle, because you might have a full page graph that you need on one page. But as you're laying the book out, all of a sudden, you only have a half a page because of where the text ends. So then you have to think, okay, how am I going to make it so it's on one page? Am I going to have to move this paragraph here? Should I put it later? Should I put a graphic there? And it's just this giant puzzle, which makes it fun for me because I'm a math teacher. I love puzzles, right?
Right.
I just feel like this work is so like when I read, I do a majority of my reading on like a tablet, like on a Kindle, right? And even when I read on a book, like what you're describing, I feel like I take for granted. Like I don't even think about maybe the hours of work.
You're in it.
Yeah, that it take. But now that you're mentioning this, like I'm gonna be reading a little bit later. I'm gonna notice that, especially like, and this is especially important for like in education because our books.
Yes, I definitely.
What up, Farmer Bob's? But yeah, because like educational books typically there's stuff in there besides the words, right?
Yes.
And so again, that's something that I don't think about. Sophie, am I alone there? Like, is that something that you're?
Well, I didn't really think about it, but like I did think about it because I didn't think it was like a job that somebody did. Because when I do things, I have that mind of yours, Heather. I'm a math teacher. It's a puzzle. I need to make sure that this is going to fit the right way. Steve is dude slides all the way. They're just like black and white, and they fit what they fit, and that's it. And
I should have wore my shirt.
He has one. Hashtag dude slides. And I'm a little bit of a graphic designer, and I'm like, this has got to look nice. It's got to look appealing. You got to have them want to look further into the book, and for it to be easy for them to navigate through it.
Right.
And yes, so like I just didn't think that was a job that somebody could do, but now I'm interested.
Yes, and I mean, I literally just fell into it. Like, I don't have a degree in grammar, literature, whatever you need for copy editing. I'm just really good at it. Like, it just fell into my lap. But here's another interesting thing about laying out books, though. I have to have 2 copies. I have to have one for paperback version and one for digital version. Because of all the coding that goes along with where things should be placed with a digital version is completely different. So like, let's just use Google Docs, for example. If you want an extra space, you just push your enter button or return button twice, right? If you do that on InDesign and want that space for an ebook, it doesn't do that. It smashes it all together. So you have to know all these different rules as to how to make the spacing right, how to make things fit exactly where they belong. And it's been a learning curve, but at the same time, I'm like, oh my God, this is so much fun because I keep learning. I am the like poster child of a lifelong learner.
Fantastic.
So I'm going to run a risk here of asking a stupid question.
Okay.
Which happens often. So like, because you said you have two different copies, right? Like one that's meant for like the physical one, and then the ebook. So like when you're making these adjustments, I've always assumed this, but like, is the standard to make like everything page number by page number equivalent? And what I mean by that, like if you're looking at spacing,
no, it doesn't matter.
No. Oh, okay. So like,
if I were
so it's possible that like one graphic would be on one page and then on the other version it would be on the other?
Yes, because if you think about an ebook, you can change the size of fonts.
Oh, that's
that's what I was thinking.
It's
all
all
change the size of your font. You can change out, like you could change and have a lot of customization when it comes to an ebook. So it literally, me reading it could be 110 pages. You reading it could just be 50 pages because your eyesight's better than mine.
And if you ever saw my actual, maybe one of these days, I'll have to get permission from Teacher Goals to post one of these. If you saw one of my book pages from an ebook layout, you'd be like, what in the world is going on? Because I literally have graphics sitting over text and I don't care. Like, you can't actually read the book because I have that image attached to the text somewhere. So when it goes to the ebook file, it will naturally go between those text lines.
See, that would be I would be like, huh, during that. Okay.
Yeah, I do get like that, but then I'm like, okay, it saves me time. Got to keep going. Got to keep going. Got to keep going.
Just got to do it.
Yep. It's
I
wild.
think we have a question. Yeah, thank you, Sophie.
Bob says she has a question. What's your favorite book to edit? What's been it?
I don't know. To edit? Let's see. I have too many.
Well, yeah, you said you just
Farmer
done
Bob's
11.
you're in trouble because I also know all these authors. So I feel like if I don't say them, they're going to come after me. Well, they all have their different like benefits with it. Like, I didn't know very much about PBL. So editing and laying out Dan's PBL book, like, I felt like I was learning so much. It was so much fun. And him and I just went back and forth, and he's such a fun guy to work with. I've had a blast working with him. But
And he knows a ton.
He
Like,
does so much.
his brain is, yeah.
And he wears cute little bow ties, which I love. I mean, that should have nothing to do with anything, but I love the bow ties. I mean, then you have the other Dan who has an adorable accent. So, I mean, bow tie versus accent.
It just sounds like you mash them together, you're going to get Doctor Who.
Yeah, maybe that's what I should go for. But with his, like, it made me think about education a little differently because I feel like we're so stuck in you have to meet these exact standards, and any more kids, at least in the elementary level, they never want to mess up and they want you to give them the answers. And so his book kind of is going away from that. Yes, you're still teaching what needs to be taught, but you're going about it in a different way that's more hands-on and exploratory for these kids instead of, here's all your answers. And all my kids at school will tell you, I will sit there for 10 minutes and tell them, you've got to figure it out. And they get so mad at me. But I'm like, you've got to learn how to problem solve. Christy Cloud would tell you that I am the expert problem solver. I absolutely adore Christy, but she makes fun of me so much for this because we have a Slack channel for the original EduGuardians. And I will ask them a question, just some random question. And she's like, there's no point in me responding because you're going to have it figured out before I respond. And that usually happens. But I'm like, that's what kids need to be able to do. They need to be able to problem solve. And so that's what Dan Fitzpatrick's, this is the problem with having two Dans. I also have several Brads, which is another confusing one. But his book really, makes you think beyond that, because anymore, like, we carry calculators around in our pockets. We can look up any stat we want. We can do all this stuff. So instead of focusing on that, what should we be focusing on to help these students? And same way with Saba's book. I actually got to meet her at FETC, which was so exciting because I'd never met her, and here I had been working on her book. And it was just so much fun to think about, like, what would you do if you could design your own school? Like, what would you want in it? What would for that as well? I don't know. There's just too many.
Yeah.
I can't pick one for Bob's. I can't.
Bob, that was unfair.
It was.
Unfair.
That's like asking me my favorite book. You can't ask me my favorite book because then I'll have to ask you, in what genre do you want?
It's like, which one's your favorite child? I can answer that.
That's
easily.
easy.
Not
The only one I
everyone
have.
can.
I can.
Yeah.
Yeah, only have one. That's Steve. Steve only has one.
Exactly.
See?
Heather, I love that, like, and I love this for you. Like it just seems like, and I don't know how, like, what the volume is with this work within teacher goals. But I just feel like it's such a rare opportunity that, like, you're getting PD on the regular. Like, that's kind of
Yes.
what I'm hearing. It's like that's constant PD that is of quality and you're enjoying it, right? I
Yes.
think that's
And I
that's
get to
special.
talk to the authors.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
you've
so,
got that
like,
direct
now,
line of communication with the author to ask questions and to get even more.
yes,
So it's better than going to a conference session. Like,
exactly. It is. And it's one-on-one, and it'll just be random little things. And even now, like, I've talked about possibly starting a, one thing I'm not good at is thinking of words. Like a reading book club type thing with EduGuardians in Dan Fitzpatrick's book. And I told him that I thought about it. And he said, oh, well, if you do it, let me know. And I will sit in on a session with you guys. I'm like, sweet. Like, all these connections and things I never would have had without this. And it's just amazing. I feel like my head's so full of knowledge and I just can't share it enough, which is why I love to go to all these conferences and things. So I'm like, I got to share all this. This is amazing. Oh, no, I take that back. I do know my favorite book. Hold on. It's right here. Oh, no, you're not gonna be able to see it. Graham and Gran Save the Summer.
Oh,
I
yes.
that one.
I've read that one. They've been on the show. That book is awesome.
Yes. This is my favorite one. I think it's because I'm an elementary teacher. Sorry, other guys. I promise I like yours too. But I think because I'm an elementary teacher, and this is such a great way to teach media literacy. Like, the fact that it has puzzles in there to get the kids interested. And this is just one of those books that I can't wait till Killian's older and he can do it too. I'm going to warn you, we might have a little noise because my little guy just got home from Grandma and Grandpa's house.
Look what we brought.
And they brought a dog.
We brought.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
yay.
You don't know about
And down they go.
baby.
All good. It's all good.
Yeah, this is what happens when I try to do stuff at home.
Baby.
We understand.
So we've mentioned a couple times about the EduGuardians crew, and I love the crew. I love the extra, and I was putting on my outfit today, and I'm like, this is perfect for.
Yes, I had him on my
extra.
FETC EduGuardian shirt and my FETC EduGuardian hat for you guys.
I love it. So for those that are listening and don't really know anything about the EduGuardians, why don't you tell them a little about that?
Sure. The easiest way to find out about us is to go to eduguardian5.com. I'm saying that because I know I'm going to forget something. So last March, Christy Cloud was supposed to be grading papers. But if you know Christy, you know she's not the type to like to read papers. And so she hopped on Twitter, and Microsoft Designer had posted a prompt about making yourself into a superhero. So she made herself into a superhero, and she tagged a bunch of us in it, asking us to do it. So then I did it, and Eileen and Farmer Fobs and Larissa all did it. And pretty soon we had people asking to be part of our EduGuardian League. And we're like, what? We're just having fun here. And so then people started making their own superheroes. And then that transformed into making trading cards. And then at ISTE, we traded cards. But really, Christy did a great job of saying what the EduGuardians really do. One of our goals is to guard teachers against isolation. We are members of a community. We want to work together. We also say there's an EduGuardian for that. So even like if Christy, so now she has to teach STEAM or STEM. I don't know which one she calls it, but she'll come to me for things because she knows I've done it before. While if I have like a middle school teacher who wants to know about English stuff, I'm not the person to ask, but I could probably find someone who can. So us educators, we come together at conferences. We have a monthly meetup, and it's all about creativity and collaboration and having fun and support. we don't care who you are, where you're from, as long as you're in the educational sector, we've got you. And that's kind of a brief overview of what we are, I guess. It's so hard because there's so many different things we do.
Yeah, and I love it. It's we all first met up at ISTE. I know that ISTE for you was a little bit
I was there for one day.
yeah. But when we all met up at ISTE and we were trading cards, and then when you got like the special edition card from somebody, because it was just amazing. And I have all of my cards. I even was just sorting some things out. It's just a really cool experience being around like-minded people who want to be innovative and engaging.
Yes.
With students with AI. And if you don't have access to AI, then we're still going to help you do the same things without AI. And like, it's just really cool. People come on to X, Threads, Blue Sky, and we're like, hey, I have a question about this. And we have an EduGuardian for that. And we're literally globally. And it's just a fantastic community to go to and ask questions.
And even though, none of us 5 originals are going to TCEA this year. Jessica, I can't think of her last name, but Jess is actually hosting the trading card swap there. So even though us originals aren't there, the community is taking over and making this happen. And we love that type of support. We absolutely love it. And we're really excited for ISTE because we have some stuff up our sleeves too.
I'm so excited.
That's awesome. I'll be honest. I've never heard, maybe someone said it and I wasn't listening. Maybe that might be the thing. But like, I love the guarding against isolation. I'd never heard that before. I think that's brilliant.
No, that came up. It was the EdTech Bites podcast when we were at FETC. Gabriel had asked what we guard against, because we're the EduGuardians, so what do we guard against? And Christy needs to be our catchphrase person, because she immediately came up with we guard against isolation. Like immediately. Like, how did you do that? That was awesome. And that's what we want to do. We want to make sure no one feels alone, no one feels left out. We're all a little crazy, but that's okay. We support the crazy.
I corrected someone at FETC. They thought that you had to be identifying as a female in order to be part of the EduGuardians. And I was like, oh, no, honey, we accept all kinds.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It just happens that us original 5 are all females. That's all.
Yeah.
That's
all. It just so happens to be that way. No, you don't have to. You don't even have to be extra, but we do embrace you and love you still.
Exactly.
If you are. So, yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I'm like a halvesy EduGuardian. I really need to finish all the steps there. But I did create my little person and my name.
There you go. There you go. Signed up for the newsletter. Yeah.
And as Farmer Bob's pointed out, I edit that usually too. I help Christy out with that.
Fantastic.
Yeah. You're like involved with like all the things here, right? Like which
that's how it feels.
Love.
I do a
so
lot.
like you're math interventionist.
Yes.
You do STEM with elementary, and you have a middle school STEM, and you have like another thing after school, and then you're also editing books, and then you're also an EduGuardian founder. And I'm just like, how do you do it all? But then I also remember you only have one kid.
Yes, that does help having one kid. It does help. But I still need more hours in the day. I'll be the first to admit that.
Make sure you take care of yourself. Get lots of rest.
That's why that first week after FETC, not much happened.
Right? Yeah, same. I had a lot on my calendar, but I was not looking forward to it.
Yeah, luckily I had school, but I was like, okay, that's it. And I'm waiting for the next Teacher Goals book to come to me, so I get to relax a bit.
No,
I will take that a little bit of relaxing time, because I mean, like tomorrow I had a call with the EduGuardians that are going to McCall to work on our keynote and all that stuff. And yeah, my my weekends are starting to get full all over again.
Well, it's just ramping up. I feel like, because it's just that time of year where like there's the conferences, and then it like the climax is ISTE, and then it like dwindles back down again and into the winter.
Right.
But yeah, it's that climb. We did the first like kickoff is like FETC, and it's like, from there it just whoop goes right back up.
For sure.
I'm not going to be at McCall, and I'm really upset. However, I do know a lot of people, not just the EduGuardians, that are going to McCall.
That is awesome.
So I am actually sending to TCEA some trading cards.
Perfect.
So people can have them. I just need to get to the post office.
I know that feeling. Just another stop to have to make during the day, right?
Yeah. And it's cold. I don't want to get out of the car.
I know. Are you going to IDEAcon?
No.
I
think someone is.
I think I'm there. I can't. Don't quote me on this. I feel like I'm there virtually.
Virtually.
Oh.
I might be making that up, but like I remember that being the case. Sophie and I might have a friend that's there. I don't know. Everything just gets mush after,
that's how I feel.
like session proposals and like where we're going, where we're not going.
Right. Yeah. And originally I wasn't going to go to IDEAcon because I have so many other conferences I'm going to. I was like, you know what? I will take this year off of that one. And then at FETC, I had so many people asking me if I was going, and I finally broke down and I asked my superintendent, can I just go Monday and Tuesday? Because Monday is President's Day. So it's not like I'd be missing school. And then one more day. That's it. Can I just go for the 2 days? He's like, yeah, that's fine. Okay, good.
Yay!
There's so many amazing people there. I hate missing out.
Yeah.
And I'm not presenting the entire time. I'll actually get to sit and learn in the sessions too, which I didn't get to do at FETC.
Yeah, I've got a conference here in West Virginia. It's a math conference, and I submitted 6 proposals.
Yeah.
Not expecting all 6 to get accepted. There are only
jokes on you.
8, right? There are only 8 session slots. I'm going to be able to watch 2 sessions if I make it to them, because they're like the first ones in the morning. So I'm like,
I was going to say, and that's if you're not running somewhere.
Right? And I'm like, so I'm like, I'm not going to learn anything at this conference.
Yeah, it's crazy how some of these work.
Yeah. And you guys are FETC is overwhelming and wonderful and amazing all by itself, just as an attendee. And then when you guys are running around doing all of your things too, I can't imagine. I just can't imagine it.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then people run up to you that you're like, oh shoot, have I met you before?
They know you, but you don't know them. Yeah.
Well, it's because the EduGuardian stuff. That they know me from that. Like, okay, I feel better now, because I thought maybe I'd had a whole blown out conversation one time, and I don't remember it. But usually it's they know me from EduGuardian stuff, so that helps.
Does that throw you off at all? Like when someone comes up to you and they're like already knowing everything about you, and then you're like, I just met you. Does it throw you off?
No. I think part of that's coming from a small town. Like I'm used to everyone knowing everything about me. So anymore, it's just not surprising.
I never thought about that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my graduating class had 56 in it, and that was the largest they've ever had. So yeah, we all knew each other.
Yeah. Which has there's pros and cons with that, right?
Yeah.
Like
there definitely is.
Yeah.
We definitely had a tight-knit community, but at the same time, if you didn't like someone, you were stuck with them for 13 years. But that's okay.
Right. Heather, you so we can pull back a little bit, like the math intervention is like, piece of it. Because you mentioned really early on in the episode that there was no like curriculum or guidelines or like maybe even support. I don't know. Maybe speak on that a little bit in terms of like the work that you're doing there with strategies, with working with families, stuff of I don't know, stuff of that nature. Yeah.
So originally, when I first started, I needed a little bit of guidelines because I was literally the first person in this position, and no one else in my district, other than the middle school math teachers, really like loved math like me. And so I'd done some research, and I got the Bridges intervention program, which was really great. It started with like a review, and there was a game in there, and it was applying it to real life, and it worked really well. But the struggle was that in my intervention groups, if I have like 3 students in my intervention group and 2 of them are sick, do you move on with that lesson or do you not? Well, I said, no, we're not going to move on. We're going to like do extra things with it instead. But then that meant planning was absolutely horrible because at one point I was like ahead more than a week of making copies for one group because they had one student that was gone so much. So I really liked that intervention program. So if you're a math interventionist, I do recommend that program. It just didn't quite work for me. I still will pull from it once in a while. I love the games it had in it, and we use those a lot. But then we started going to a new model for interventions where instead of looking just at the benchmark data where we put kids into tier 1, 2, or 3, where I would take tier 2 and tier 3 interventions, we started looking at it differently. So now what we do is we are working on our priority standards. So these are like 6 to 8 standards that we want to make sure our students have mastered, like 100% mastered before they move on to the next grade level. Yes, we still teach the other standards, but it's not our focus. Because here's an example of how great the state of Illinois is. So when I taught 3rd grade, we maybe had 15 to 20 math standards, something like that. Well, then COVID hit, and then we switched these priority standards. Well, the goal of this was to shorten the standards so the teachers had a little bit more flexibility. So 3rd grade math went from 15, 20-ish standards up to 53. And I went, isn't that backwards?
Yeah.
3 for 3rd grade math. What is going on? And I still don't know. I know they took like bits and pieces from different standards and put them together, but to me that made it more complicated. So by us now selecting 6 to 8, it's a whole lot easier than 53 because holy cow, 53 standards is crazy.
It's a lot.
So and imagine like, so I have to do K through 5th grade. So there's 53 for 3rd, there's 53 for 4th, there's 53 for 5th. I don't remember the numbers for the littles because those ones were doable. But by picking these priority standards, we can really focus on those. And so the teachers teach that standard and assess it. Once they are through assessing it, I take a group of students who have not mastered that standard now. So, for example, if 3rd grade just completed comparing fractions, and there's 4 or 5 that just don't get it, I take those 4 or 5 and I only work on comparing fractions instead of the broad overall math. So it's very focused on that specific standard. And a lot of times I like to throw in like the dice games or the card games with it, so it's fun for them. Another thing I've started doing a lot is for my tier 3 students, the ones that really need the extra help, I like to focus on applying the math because you can know that what like 6 times 8 is, that's fine. But if you don't understand how to use it in real life. What's the use of it to you, right?
Mhm.
So with my tier 3 kids, I started focusing more on word problems. But the problem is that I'm 37 years old. My kid is 6 years old. These kids in 2nd through 5th grade, I have no idea what they're interested in. I don't get it. Like, there's a gap there. I don't know all this stuff about Minecraft and Fortnite and whatever else. Like, Disney movies I can do. But some of their interests, I'm clueless on, and I will be the first person to admit it. So what I started doing, though, is I started using things like Magic School or School AI or ChatGPT or whatever. I will put in the math standard I want to use for those word problems, and I'll ask them to tie it to the student interest.
Oh.
Now, not only then are the students interested in it, but I'm learning about their interests. So then we're building that rapport up, and I'm asking them questions about these things because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so much different than when I was a kid. And so they love that they're teaching me about their passions as I'm teaching them math. And a lot of them are like, why can't we do this in class? I'm like, because we have a curriculum. So they love that, being able to tie it to what they're interested in. Right now, apparently it's Lilo and Stitch. That's a big one right now. I'm like, really? Because that came out a long time ago, but that's okay.
Was there a sequel? Is there a reason why
I
that's
think there's
resurfacing?
supposed to be a sequel.
Oh,
Dude,
okay.
There was like a whole TV series too, and
Mm.
a spinoff of like Stitch's whatever number he is, but there were that many other experiments. So that was the TV series.
Yeah, the kids told me all about it, and I was like, what are you talking about?
But yeah, it's neat that that's coming back around.
Yes.
I like Lilo and Stitch. Well, now like there's Sonic. The 3rd Sonic movie is out, so like that could be a big one. I did that that exact same thing when I was prepping for FETC. I'm like, what are our middle school kids into? And Gemini was like, gave me a whole list, and I picked out Greek, like Percy Jackson, and I was like Greek mythology and stuff. So I'm like, okay, write me a story. I gave it some science standards from the state of Florida, and I'm like, write me a story surrounding Greek mythology, include these science standards, and then I want it to be a short story, like only on 1 page, and then I need questions. I need like fill in the blank, multiple choice, short answer questions. And it gave it to me all, and I was like, sweet. And then I took it into Canva, made it pretty, and then popped it into Cami, and then ta-da!
There you go. Yep. I'm like, so many of these teachers don't realize that AI can help them connect with their students. Because I mean, at 37, I don't think I'm really that old, but I do have that gap, like the kids think I'm old because I don't understand things that they play on their Switch. I'm like, guys, I played on an Atari when I was a kid, so I got nothing. I can talk to you about pinball, things like that.
The OG. There's nothing wrong with that, though.
My dad had one growing up, so that's the only reason I got to play on that.
Yeah.
But I wish that more teachers could see how much this can help their rapport with their students, because you can learn about them. You can get these shy kids to participate because it's something they're excited about. And you're showing that you're interested as well.
Steve,
I had not heard this concept of like the student interest piece of it. Like, especially like with math, right? Like, oh, write me a word problem based off.
right?
Sophie, I feel like you had something.
I was just thinking that this might lead right nicely into our one question.
Wait, we have a question on the show? Sorry, I've been gone for a little bit. I'm like super sassy. So yes, Heather. It's that one show it's that one show. It's that one question. See how long it's been? It's that one question that we ask on the show. What is top of mind for you in education? What is something maybe we should be thinking about more, talking about more? Very, very keen to hear your thoughts.
We need to focus on preparing students for the unknown. Like, we don't know. My son's in kindergarten. Who knows what type of jobs and things are going to be around when he is older, but we need to prepare him to be able to think. We need to prepare him to be able to problem solve, how to be creative, how to not be afraid of failing. I feel like that's one of the hardest things, because kids get an F on their test, they feel like a failure. And as educators, we need to make sure that kids realize we all make mistakes. It's okay. But we really need to focus on those skills that they need. I'm all about focusing on the collaboration, the creativity, the problem solving, things like that. Because sure, you might remember PEMDAS or whatever apparently they call it something different in New Zealand. I don't remember what it was. But in any case, like, sure, you have the order of operations. I can memorize that, but I need to know how to apply it. I need to know how to actually work with it instead of just memorize.
Yeah.
One thing I have seen, though, which I love, is in I shouldn't say upper level, because this is more like upper elementary and middle school math that I get to see. But the teachers are letting them use their notes for tests and things, because guess what? In the real world, we have our phones right here. We have a computer right here. There are so many things when I'm laying out books in InDesign that I have to look up how to do it. But I can't. They need to be able to know how to do that. So let's not focus on the memorizing. Let's focus on the skills that we need. That is what I think is the most important for education.
I love that. And like, as you describe this, this scenario where you allow students to use notes, I feel like part of that conversation is like, okay, then the actual assessment itself has to be different too.
Yes.
Like, it can't, like, you can't be like, oh, they're gonna have all the information anyway, solving something that's more or less archaic, like,
right.
And so it's yes to all that. And Sophie can probably say the same, but like, oftentimes when I'm doing professional development on the regular, like, a lot of what I hear is like, Steve, how can your strategies mitigate AI? And what they really mean is like laser focused on the cheating, on the negative impacts potentially that AI has. And I often challenge them. I'm like, cool. So like, what kind of questions are you asking them? And is it possible you're asking them the wrong questions or not giving them the opportunity to ask their own? And no, like, I love all that. Yeah.
Yes. And one of my favorite apps for this with math, especially, is Snorkel, because I am all about having students explain why they did something. Because sometimes kids solve problems and I'm like, I have no idea how you did that. So I want them to explain it. And what Snorkel does is they can record their reasoning. So they don't have to write it down, because as an interventionist, I have quite a few students who have reading and writing IEPs. So they need something extra to help them to share how they are doing it. So I absolutely love Snorkel for that. The fact that it can just record exactly what they are thinking and submit it and then get feedback. And then they can go back and adjust if they need to.
Snorkel is one of the ones I've not really played with yet.
I haven't played with it much. I do have some of their stickers. I met Jeff and John at ISTE and then saw them again at FETC. They're fantastic people, and I have wanted to dive into it more, especially since it's math. But I haven't, so I'm definitely gonna we need to do that, Steve.
Is it math? I'm sorry, but is it math focused, or is it like
no? It's any subject.
Okay.
It is any subject. They have a whole library, and they're working on adding more. It's just that I use it for math because I find that it's perfect for those kids who to have to type out their answers is like torture. To have them write it out is torture. But then by recording it too, I can listen back to it 50 times if I need to assess their learning.
Mm.
And what I like is that it actually works with math symbols. That's the thing with like
Yes.
a lot of the other AI bots and generators and chatbots and stuff, they struggle with math symbols in general, just period.
Mhm.
And Snorkel doesn't seem to have that issue. So I think that's why I personally clung onto it, because of the math part, because it can identify that
Yes.
stuff.
And I think it helps that, I don't know if one or both of them were math teachers, but like if you have a math teacher, they're going to make sure that it works, because with AI, I've discovered, I don't know how many times, that it does not calculate correctly. I'm like, okay, I'll use a calculator, not AI for this, I guess.
Because it doesn't have like that, it doesn't recognize the symbol, and then it misses something because that one part of the parenthesis is missing, and it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing.
Right.
But it works in Snorkel.
Yes, it does. I don't know how, but it does, and it's awesome. I love it.
Right.
It's okay, because I too struggle with math. So I really, Heather, we just really appreciate you spending this lovely Saturday with us. Thanks for being a part of this. And I, for one, have learned a lot. I know a lot of majority of our listeners are going to listen and be like, wow, I'm going to reach out to Heather or take something that she said. And as Sophie mentioned, the Brownies Ed Bites, that is where they can find you. Are you keen to questions, reach out, support, anything
Yeah,
like
definitely reach out and I will get back to you. It might not be right away, but I will reach out to you. And same way, my email is browniesedbites@gmail.com.
Awesome. Keeping that brand consistent. I love that.
I have to. There's too many Heather Browns.
Yes. Awesome. All right, friends. Well, we're about to close out this episode. Really appreciate it. Sophie, it's awesome that we're back doing this together
again.
Yes. Really appreciate all of you. Continue to share, reach out for support. And as always, keep your hats on, but your minds open. We'll chat next time. Bye-bye.